All right, welcome to Roleplay Cafe. It's Dale here. I'm going to do a long overdue recap of sessions, that's plural, uh, from our latest and current Joth campaign that Todd's leading us through. Now, there have been 3 to 4 sessions that haven't been recapped since Jason's been out of pocket. And so it's a little bit, we like to have them at hand to be able to do a little quick recall instead of watching the AP all over again. Because there can be a little bit stretches of time between games at different times. So I will do this more so very loosely from my character's perspective to kind of find the beats. Now, I may miss a beat or two, and we can fill those in the comment sections with the guys as little reminders. But here we go. Last recap, I remember leaving off when Nevin, my character Nevin, bit the dust. Right about here. These 2 little spiderites. Right. Nevin needs to be laying somewhere here in a pile of goo. As Hilda and George and Theana and David wasn't here for that session, and it's already been recapped. There was a little bit of wind blowing through there, and we didn't. That's where the recap stopped, and the APs began. All right, session after that, which you can't recall, maybe session 56 or so. David joined us, and he joined us with my new character, Nook, which, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever the case may be, I rolled a 4 intelligence for him, but he's pretty big and thick and brawny, thick in more ways than one, I suppose. Take that how you may. And he's a little bit of a show out because he wants to gain Lauren, David's character's approval. Right? A bit of a squire-esque, but he's also wanting to make his mark, as Lauren has so skillfully made his mark in Joth for, I believe, Lauren and now George and Theana, she's been around a good while too. So I think those 3 are about the longest lived characters. I would say weird, but he didn't quite reach that goal. Nevertheless, we pick up here. The breeze came through, blowing the webs, and then we had chased off the spiders earlier, and then we delved even deeper. We got here. There was a chasm with stalagmites and stalactites, but a log spanned across the chasm, and we decided to cross it. Now, I think I remember Nook taking some rope because we saw something. We hung, or at least some light was projected down, and we saw a body laying still, or the remains of a body because it wasn't moving. And so Nook goes down to investigate. He finds what appears to be a dead wizard, even though he can't really make heads or tails of it. It's got some disgusting items in its pouch. He puts those back, but he is interested with the staff that the wizard has. A stick or what may. And it's actually speaking, saying, "Help me." So he confides in the staff and takes it close into his breast and leaves with it and tries to keep its identity or its trapped personage a secret to the others. But he also finds some hole that's at the bottom of the chasm that leads somewhere underneath there, right? So he beckons the other, "I found a hole down there." They're like, "We don't really want to go there. We need to go this way," right? They had an agenda to do. I think they had, we were still looking for Trotter at that time. is the sheriff we found here. We went through the doors, came in here. It's pitch black. It opens up. There's, I think, a bluish illumination coming out of this door. Come in, look for tracks, and here you see Trotter's tracks. Goes up to this top door, down to the southern door, and over here to the eastern door. And, of course, the map may be inverted on the screen, but nevertheless, you can trust me when I say that is east. There was bones laying here haphazardly around about, and two, I don't think they were braziers, there were little fountains, and I believe they were dried up. But what was really peculiar about the whole situation was there was a column of water, and you could look up into the water and see basically open sky coming down. It looked like we heard a kasploosh sound earlier, didn't know what it was, and then when we was in here, we realized that a bucket was being dropped and lowered into it and pulled back up. So it was the well, but it wasn't a walled well. It was literally a pillar of water. Now we went about checking to see which doors would work. There was in here, yeah, southward, there were some items, some weapons, I believe we may have grabbed, some tables. There was little alcoves in this room, but nothing much beyond that. I think we may have gotten away with a couple of +1 items here. We went back up, but we knew that Trotter's prints, or who we assumed the halfling prints were made from, ended here. Up here, we found more of a closeted area with a mirror, and the mirror, outside the mirror were it would undulate a little bit, move, and then the small salamanders, the razor-toothed salamanders, would exit from that mirror. Even though we couldn't see ourselves in the mirror, but we could see the column of water and green icons floating around it, spiraling around it. I guess some kind of magic was keeping it upheld. Nevertheless, we couldn't see ourselves in the mirror, and then the salamanders started coming out. We dealt with it and then left there, shut it and left there, went through here. The bones arrayed themselves into a multi-headed beast. I think it was 2 or 3 dogs, or wolfhounds, or some such. Mastiff hounds, skeletal remains, but they were double-headed. So we went about, I think Vienna, if I'm not incorrect, turned those, or either we took them down, but that's what happened there. We were able to go in the doorway. There was stairs leading up. The tracks continued to follow around into this room. We did look down here, and there were stairs leading down, but we didn't go that avenue at first. We went up here to look in. Follow the tracks. There was desiccated dwarven warriors seated at these 2 tables, thrown about with this antlered chandelier hanging above. And there was this huge skeletal remains of a turtle, giant turtle with its head and little talons for the forearms, and a throne sitting atop the head, and residing on the throne was none other than Buckles, Fingersmith, Trotter's father, who we had been in search of. So we had found him. Now he was laying to the side, and when we got his attention, I mean, he was just laid over the throne, almost in a relaxing posture. But when he picked his head up, the whole side of his head was a bit smashed in. Concave. He looked at us, none the wiser, and beckoned us to join him in the festivities. And I cannot recall who he mentioned that was the master of this domain that was inviting us to join too. Anyway, we thought better of it. Now my character, well, I say we, but my character Nook didn't at that time because he was more in a mindset of rescuing Buckles and taking him back to the top and convincing him to come with us. And he was injured, so this happened relatively fast. As the creature started to, whenever everyone else wouldn't comply with what Buckles had wished, Buckles gets angry and stands up above the turtle's head, and then the turtle starts to rise and clamber and come out of the ground section. And is coming toward me, and I'm trying to steal in my dismal, dim lit halls of the palace of my mind, the cave of my mind. I'm thinking, this thing is going to harm Buckles, so I'm going to take care of it. And I take my war axe and I do a smashing blow to it. Yet I have to get out of that time. So I run for life, for dear life, and join the others. At that time, all of the other dwarves, Buckles had called them into the foray too. So basically the party wanted to make a choke point. I was there fighting off that. The rest of the dwarves were running this way. I had to get in there with them. They came in. We backed up all the way here. And there was some other hound or something that was still there. Earlier, when we ran back into this room with the pillar of water, they chased us, came out. I think Theana may have turned a couple or so, but we were held up in a rather large fight here at this exit point. Now, my character Nook is wanting to get out. He's standing halfway in this pillar of water, saying, "Let's swim out. Let's get out." Now, the hounds had already, that's probably what happened before, the hounds had went into the pillar of water and swam up and out. Or at least a portion of the hounds that we had faced before. Now, the dwarves are at this choke point. We're fighting them. It proceeds to the next, where the hounds, the dwarves fight. Those were endpoints of sessions. This, we finally finished the dwarves off. Thought we would go back into the room, peeked in there, and we still saw the creature with Buckles. So we thought we would go this way. It went down the stairs into this hall with a huge chunk of cheese hanging from the ceiling. There was a fireplace, 2 huge tables, webs about the place. It looked like a servant's galley. And over here there was a door. So it was an entryway that we went down and around and up the stairs, and it entered the southern door. So we thought amongst ourselves that we would lay a trap for Buckles and his tortoise, where I believe Lauren, Hilda, and myself stayed here, the 3 power movers, and George and Theana, Eric, yes, Candle was with us. That's what I forgot to mention earlier. Candle was along for the ride the whole time. We're up here. Now, we decided to brace ourselves behind these columns and try to draw Buckles this way, where they could at least shoot their slings and arrows at the rear. We got up here, and indeed, Buckles comes to the top of the table, I believe Lauren tried. I can't remember if it was a miss or hit to some amount. But Nook, surprisingly, yet again came down with a massive blow similar to the one he had previously, and it ended the thing. The skull cracks, splits, splinters. He's standing there in the debris of the skull, and the dust of the bone meal and powder is all drifting around him, and Nook has, to his eyes and mine, shown out in front of Lauren and should get some kind of amount of allocates or appreciation for that. I believe that was the end of that session. We did find this door was held off, and in an alcove, I believe in an alcove in this room, we had found some dwarven script and 3 keys hanging, and decided not to touch it until we could figure out what we needed to do. This is when we, somewhat beaten and battered, decided to go back to town. Now, we went back through this way. After beating that, we were held off here. We got here. They wanted to go, most of the party wanted to go back via the way of the bridge. Kendall held pretty much all the wealth that we had obtained here in her pockets. Got across, and she fell. Everybody's tied across, but she falls and to her death. So it's at least 30-something foot down. And she's dead. Now, Nook hasn't crossed over yet. The others have. He decides not to. If the thief couldn't make it across, he's not going to. He had already pleaded his case to swim back up this. And so finally he goes back in here. Takes his, does the skinny dipping with all of his garments and everything tied onto a rope. And when they drop the bucket rope, he grabs onto it and swims out. They fish him out, and he pulls himself out, buck naked, into the center of town, the town well. That's how that ended. Next session, which was last night, we entered again, did some negotiations in town, bought what we needed to buy. George happened to decipher the script, the Dwarven language, so he was able to understand that and decided which key we should pick. It did work. It did open a door. The 3 keys that were nestled in a little alcove, it did open the door. We went around the corner, went up this long stairwell, got to the top. There was a maw of a demon's face that you walk through the mouth. You have to step over the teeth too. It was all carved in. A portal into something. So when we got down there, of course, Nook wants to show out in front of Lauren, so he steps through. And we get inside, and there's this huge room. You can see it here. In the center, there's this 60 foot radius ice tower with some individual locked inside. We read the script around the outside, and it beckons us to free the individual to get the treasure. On the other side, there was, it looks like a collapsed section of the wall with debris and rubble that had spilled out. And there was, I believe, holes in the floor at all the compass points around here, and all the script was around. So we couldn't discern or figure out who was in this in this ice prison. But when we was going around it, this assembled itself into a demonic form, howled and bellowed, and everyone save Nook yet again, because he had been sitting in town for 2 weeks, a town with dried up mead, no ear to bend to his tale of bravery for conquering this tortoise. So he was a little bit in need of to go questing, to prove himself yet again. So this beast assembles itself and stands many heads over us, and everyone takes to run except Nook, and it hits the ceiling, and then the ceiling starts to crumble and fall. I believe someone got some damage taken to them. Can't remember exactly who it was. I believe Lauren came through unscathed, and luckily I came through unscathed. There was 3 of us in that party that had decided to come down. Hilda didn't join George, so George, I believe, got hit. Lauren made it through. Nook was still there, but then decided it overwhelmed him and he had to run too, so he made it through. After we came through, the ceiling, everything collapsed, so that's now barred off from entry, unless there was another way to come through here. I could, sit and devise conspiracy theories about what's going on in there, but we may never know. Yet we make our way down and out, and again, they want to go that way, and again, Nook wants to swim up the column. He decides to part ways. Oh, and I should say at the start of this that when we first went down, Nook lowered himself down. It was pitch black in there. The other parties came this way, and they got here at the start of this last adventure. Nook blindly found here. He didn't have flint and tinder to strike his torches. He had bought torches without flint and tinder to kindle it, and made his way out with the little bit of light from the top of the well. And Lauren and George were on the other side here. Like I said, Hilda didn't. She didn't want to come on this little adventure. So we met and decided to move the log up against the wall, tie it down to make it more secure. I believe George descended, and he got the gems from Candle's body, and Candle's body had wasn't there where we last left it. As he was looking, he stood to the side, and she stood there, the vestige of what was left of her, the same way Buckles was, a bit undead. And she attacked. Both Lauren and I tried to attack her, Lauren with a bow and me with a spike in hand. Both missed, but George dispensed with her very easily, powerfully so, surprisingly. And that's when he gained all of her treasure, came back up. We carried this over to the side, locked it down, and they came over to this side, and then we went down, came up through, and ended up with the battle with the demon up here. Made our way out, and as we were going out yet again, they wanted to go across, and I said, no, I'm going to go back up this way. So Nook swam his naked arse up the pillar of water, and it spit him out again into town. As George and Lauren crossed the bridge and came back through, Nook was worried about the 2 spiders for whatever, thought it was easier to go this way. Couldn't understand why they would want to unnecessarily risk that, passing the spiders again and again. Even though he wanted to brave himself a bit against bigger foe, spiders were more of a nuisance that he didn't want to have to deal with. So he spit out for the second time in town, and George and Lauren meet him there. And that's where we'll be when we next reconvene. There's word that Trotter, his sister and mother, will be back in Brickett's Bottom by the time next session arrives. So that should be interesting. And that was the bottom section. I don't know if you saw that table. Service entrance going up here, and the other thing that we delved into earlier. All right, that's pretty much it. And until next time, take care.